بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين ونصلي ونسلم على خاتم نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our day, to bless these moments. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow this new year to be a blessed year filled with forgiveness, guidance, mercy, and happiness, inshallah. May Allah preserve our families from everything that has taken place. Jazakumullahu khairan, everyone, for tuning in. We're blessed tonight to have a dear brother and a Shaykh Yassir Fazaga, and he is someone that is very dear to my heart. To be honest, Shaykh, I'm not a big fan of reading your bio because غلاوتك عندي أكثر, wallahi, and I really mean that. Subhanallah, someone that has served as an imam for so many years, someone that has been doing counseling, even though you're young, Sheikh, but let it just say many years. Been doing counseling, been traveling. We've seen him multiple times on international platforms. May Allah bless you, Sheikh, for accepting the invitation, for guiding the community, for your efforts in Tanweer Institute, and for everything now that you're doing in Memphis. Inshallah, they respect you and show you the love and respect you deserve, for they are truly blessed to have you serve there. And alhamdulillah, these have been challenging times, Sheikh. It's not easy. And trying to navigate through all of this and cope through all of this is a challenge for all. And I do believe that our communities are in need of such guidance. Hopefully, bi'idhnillah, they're able to learn something, to take away something. And this is a learning process for all of us. But jazakumullah khair, Sheikh, for coming. And I love you for the sake of Allah. And I can't wait to see you. Inshallah, we're allowed to come back soon. I'm not sure. People are not into traveling these days. But inshallah, hopefully we get to see your beautiful face soon. Jazakumullah khair. And from here, it's yours. Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh.
Shaykhna wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The love and the feelings are mutual. It is good to be with you, and thank you for the invitation. And I second what you said. I want to wish all of our viewers out there a happy new Hijri year. May this year be a blessed year for all of us. As you know, today is the 2nd of Muharram, 1442, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for what has taken place in the past. And may this year be a better year for us, full of blessings and full of health, Ya Rabbil Alameen. And like you said, Shaykh, these are very, very challenging times. With the whole quarantining, it's been almost over half of the year that people are being locked. That's assuming that you started this whole process in March. For other people, they started all the way back in January. So these are really, really, really trying times. And specifically, inshallah, this evening, we want to address what is it like to be back at school during this COVID time. And I must really begin by humanizing the people who are behind education. By this, I mean all the teachers, all the administrators, and all the staff in all of these educational institutes. The other day, I was talking to different teachers, because that's what we've been doing lately, to come up with strategies and how to best serve and help our students learn. And just the amount of work that takes place is just unbelievable. As one of the teachers was telling me, he said that as a teacher, I am not only responsible to teach, but I have to keep my eye on the screen to make sure that all the students there are paying attention. I have to entertain. I have to coach. I have to have a level of energy that is so high, because my level of energy is going to decide and determine the level of the energy that is in the classroom. I have to make sure that everybody is learning. These kids, some of them are online, but they really don't want to be there. Some of them are online and they're just really looking forward to learning. We're talking about people whose English proficiency may not all be the same, whose level of intelligence and wanting to learn and the desire to learn may not all be there. But he said, as a teacher, I am responsible for all of these people. And beautifully, it was said that teachers are some of the few members in our community that they go to sleep worrying about somebody else's children. So, wallahi, from the very bottom of my heart, I just want to say that the teachers are so appreciated in our community. And I remember as a youngster, there were, lines of poetry that I remember regarding teaching. حنانيك إني قد بليت بصبية أروح وأغدو كل يوم عليهم صغار نربيهم بملء عقولهم ونبنيهم ولكننا نتهدم فمن كان يرثي قلبه لمعذب فإن أجدر شخص بالرثاء المعلم على كتفيه يبلغ المجد غيره فما هو إلا للتسلق سلم. The idea of just praising this notion of being a teacher and being an educator, and like I said earlier, in English, teachers are some very few members of in our community where they go to sleep worrying about somebody else's children. So we just want you to know that you are an essential worker, that you are very vital members of our community, that you are very much appreciated. And I think that our appreciation to the teachers has really, really increased at this point. And I think this is really, really crucial. That's where we begin. Humanize all the people who are involved in this process. That also includes the parents who now have to be doing so much work, where I am told that now these parents are at home because that's where they are working from, if they're able to do that, and at the same time be able to pay attention to their children, and at the same time be able to perform in their work, and at the same time also look out for the safety of their kids and meet their needs, and this just happens all the time. So for them as well, we just want to say that we appreciate what you're doing. We're talking about single parents, single moms, single dads, and sometimes we're talking about parents who are unable to be at home with their kids while their learning is taking place. We also want to appreciate our children. What is taking place is absolutely not normal. This is not how children learn. The idea of interacting with their peers, the idea of being in a school setting face to face, where the teacher is able to cheer them up and kids can clap for them when they do something good or they give the right answer. And unfortunately, what is going on is that this is no longer a possibility. So again, we want to appreciate the fact that they are able to or we're asking them to go through this process, which is just, again, this is really not normal, or at least up to this point. So we just want to appreciate them. And when I say appreciate, we're talking about all accepting the fact that this is a human process, which means that it is not going to be perfect. Teachers are going to make mistakes. Administrators are going to make mistakes. Parents are going to run out of patience. Kids are going to be bored. The Wi-Fi is going to disconnect. So because it is not a normal process, because it is not the natural way of learning, my first advice is please, please, please cool it down with the criticism. And when I say cool it down with the criticism, I'm talking about just for all the people who are involved. Other day, I was talking to an administrator at a school setting, and he was telling me, look, he said, we met throughout the summer trying to come up with the plan. We put our plan together, and then we had to revise our plan, and then we had to revise the revision of our plan, and then we have to revise the revision of our plan. And he said we were coming to school every single day during the summer just to see how it is that we are going to learn and how it is that we are going to teach. And he said that every single day what was going on is that a new technology comes up, a new challenge comes in, and we're just trying to meet what is going on. So we understand that this is not a perfect system, and that is why it is absolutely critical, so unbelievably important, that we all just cool it down with the criticism. We want to come from a place of understanding. All these teachers who have to teach, they have to attend to their own families and to also perform for our kids, and they have to do this simultaneously. All the parents who again have to attend to their own families, to their own works, and take care of the kids as they are learning. And again, we just want to come from a place of understanding. And I think that if we all decide that just to cool it down with the criticism, I think that is just going to be absolutely excellent. Also, research is telling us, because I don't want to say that this is all, doom and gloom. In fact, they're finding that to some kids, distance learning is working so unbelievably beautiful. So this is not all bad. What happened is that, remember, kids who have been bullied at school are no longer the victims of bullying. They're no longer afraid of going to school. They're no longer afraid of coming back from school because somebody is going to bully them on their way to school or at school or on their way back from school. Somebody's not going to be laughing at them because of their appearance. So some of these kids are just absolutely viewing this as this is the best blessing that has ever happened to me. Now, granted, you may say that, what, they need this in their in their life in order for them to grow and mature, and that is debatable. But nevertheless, what I am saying is that to many people, or to a good number of members in our community, this is actually also maybe a good thing. So number one was cool it down with the criticism. Number two, which is really, really vital, and that is the idea of safety. And I want to speak about two types of safety. Number one is what we are all doing. The whole purpose of distance learning is so that we are not exposed, either ourselves or exposing others, to the virus. So we are under lockdown. We are learning from home because we want to protect our physical well-being, and that is very crucial. So please make sure that we are learning the way that we are learning, because that's what we want to do. We want to achieve this idea of physical safety and protect our health and the health of our loved ones. So as we're doing that, please continue to practice social distance, putting on the mask, and just making sure that we avoid large gatherings and all the things that we have been doing. Number two, because the kids are now using their tablets and using their laptops, and they are on the computer, we also want to make sure that we protect them from predators that are online. And that is the second aspect of safety. So the physical aspect of safety. And now that they are online, we want to make sure that we really protect our children online, either from predators or just really making sure that we have, that's number two, open conversation with our children as far as what is online. I've been teaching, and I can tell that some of my students during this time, even though they are on the screen and I can see them, but I can tell that they are on a different window or they are on a different tab. And you can tell this by the facial expression. People, making laughing, and maybe they're smiling, or there is a wow facial expression. And you know that they must be on something else, because you've been teaching, and nothing that you said would make somebody smile or laugh or have this wow expression on their face. So we want to make sure that we speak to our kids about safety online. Please do not undermine the importance of doing something like this. It is crucial. And the way to do this is because you can really never be there all the time, because you just can't. You have parents who've been telling me, I know that my kids are learning, but what I have been doing is that I have been walking behind them just to make sure that what is going on is safe. But you cannot be doing this all the time. So what we recommend is that you absolutely must have an open conversation with your kids about internet safety. This is crucial. Second level of safety that we also want to talk about is emotional safety and just psychological well-being. Like I said, what is happening is just not normal. So as we are checking on the academic achievement of our students, we also want to make sure that they are doing well emotionally. With all due respect, sitting in front of the screen from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., which I think is most of the schools nowadays, especially for the elementary schools, is really long. It is really boring. And I know that the teachers are doing their best. I know that the administrators are doing it in such a way that they have multiple breaks, that maybe every class is 45 minutes, and in between they have a PE, and they ask the students to move around. But nevertheless, just to sit in front of a screen for that long can get really, really boring. It can get very, very tiring. So we want to make sure that we are constantly checking on the emotional well-being of our students. And again, all of this is achieved by that sense of having an open conversation. You want to discuss and encourage your children to ask questions and express their feelings to you. We need to create a safe environment where people can just be. And remember that children react to stress differently. So you've got to be patient and you have got to be understanding. Start by inviting your own kids to talk about the issue. Find out how much already they know about what is going on. And, from there on, gauging from where they are, what we want to do is that we want to create that safe space so that our kids can speak to us. In the process, please try to not minimize their concerns. Make sure that you acknowledge their feelings and assure them that it is natural to feel scared, to be bored, and all these things. Please demonstrate listening by giving them your full attention, and make sure that they understand that they can talk to you and to their teachers whenever they like. Part of what the teachers were telling me as well said, not only do we have to teach, but now we also have to make sure that our kids are doing well. So that, I see some of these kids and I can tell on their face that they're just really not doing well. And even though, we may like the idea that, everybody is in the safety of their own homes as they are learning, some children are actually in the chaos of their own home as they are trying to learn. So we want to create an environment that is conducive of a sense of an emotional well-being, as well that it is safe, where we need to cool it with the criticism. We come from a place of understanding, and that we make it safe for people to share their concerns with us, giving them our full attention, making sure that we do not minimize their concerns, and making sure that we really listen to them and we encourage them to ask questions. I do not believe that anybody can learn if they are not in a good state of emotional well-being. So please pay attention to the emotional well-being of your children as they are learning. And the way to achieve this is by having an open conversation with your kids. Having said that, also want to say, please plan ahead of time. What does that mean? See, if school is going to start on Monday, do not attempt to wake up your kids who have been used to staying up late and sleeping in the morning by wanting to do this on the first day of school. So if school is not open yet for you, depending on where you are, what you want to do is that you want to bring them to as close as to school program and schedule as possible. You want to start now, where people sleep in early and they wake up early, in the hopes that when they wake up for school, that they are actually up and ready to go. Once that takes place, they say that it is also best. And remember, please, what I am sharing with you, this is actually all based on research and observation that they have that people have done, especially educators that they have done. So what they say is, as this is approaching to us, they speak about plan a routine, and the keyword here is plan a routine together. Make your kids aware of that routine. And that routine is to be established in a way that factors in age appropriate education programs that can actually be followed online. One of the saddest things that, subhanAllah, unfortunately, I feel really, really sorry for our kindergartners. The whole idea of, kindergarten and pre-K and elementary school kids, they're really supposed to be in the classroom. They're supposed to be with their home teacher, the teacher that knows each and every one of them by name, and they do their drawing and their coloring all together in this social setting, because this is just, subhanAllah, really, really important to them. And now that is not there. Because remember, children love routine. They love predictability. They love to know how their day is going to go. So one thing that we say is that please make sure that you develop a routine, and you do so together, factoring in age-appropriate programs. That also includes factoring in playtime and time for reading, using activities for learning opportunities or as learning opportunities for the children. And do not forget to come up with plans together as much as possible. Now, please do not misunderstand this. We want to have a schedule, and we want to have a structure. And that schedule and structure is really, really critical and important for children and young people. However, we must also practice certain kind and certain level of flexibility. It's okay to switch up your activities. It's okay if you are changing the programs a bit. It's okay if you see your children being agitated and they are restless. It's okay to allow them, some laxity in the process. So as much as we want to say that a schedule is important and that a structure is important, we are not talking about rigidity here. We are talking about a program that is structured, but a program that also has some kind of flexibility into it. And the more we have that, the more our children would actually appreciate this as well. Like I said, cool it down with the criticism, plan a routine together, have an open conversation with the kids, make sure that you pay attention to safety, make sure that you pay attention to the emotional well-being of your child. And now what we're saying here is also, please take your time. What do I mean by this? Take your time in a way, knowing that this is going to get better as we go on. And subhanAllah, one of the blessings that these teachers have been telling me about is this idea of, because of the last 3 weeks of last semester, we were just trying to do something and we tried, but now we are better prepared. Now we know what is going on, and now we know Zoom better. Most of us are zoomed out at this point, really sick and tired of Zoom. But they say that, excuse me, they're saying that we are better prepared at this point, and we can actually, what is happening is that we, most of the technology, people have it, as a teacher, I can tell you, it took me some time to get used to certain things. But now, as time goes by, people are just going to get better at this. So, like we said, cool it down with the criticism. And then the second thing is we want to say that, take your time. Remember now, what's happening is that we have a shorter learning sessions. What happens is that most schools, and that's, elementary and K through 12 schools, are looking into 40 minutes as, the average time maybe kids can, the attention span for kids. And so if that is the case, then we will make sure that we are ready 10 minutes before we are looking into, as much as we are taking our time, but we want to make sure that we are better prepared so that not everything is rushed. One thing though that the educators are stating is the idea of a structure at home. And what they talk about is specifically this notion of having a place that is designated as a learning place at home. To some people, it could be the dining table. To some people, it may be the table in their kitchen. Some people may not have that, and it would be just a small desk somewhere, but it is dedicated to education. This is important. And they say that as you are structuring that place, you make sure that that place has the least amount of distraction on it, and that it has a sense of organization. And the organization does not really have to be elaborate. It could be a cup where people put their pens and their pencils and their colors and their, their highlighters in it to give the sense that, what, this place is actually tidy and organized. We're not talking about fancy. We're talking about the lack of distraction. This is really, really, really crucial because it's so easy to assume, especially nowadays, we are so used to having the TV on our laptop, and at the same time, simultaneously, we also have our cell phone. We have multiple devices, could be talking to multiple people, playing a game, watching something on TV, and also be on the phone with somebody else. And now all of a sudden, we're saying, drop everything and pay attention to only one thing. I know kids who would be doing Fortnite on one place, and they have something else going on somewhere else, and they're saying that I can do this both. Now that you start online, some of these kids are saying that, yeah, I know what the teacher is saying, but on the side they're having a private chat. On the side they're looking at something else. And again, the chromes that are given to kids from different schools, they only allow the programs and the apps from school only. But again, what we are seeing is that these kids also have their own private cell phones or their laptops, and they are on it. So what we want to do is that you must have a structure and a place designated for learning at home. Preferably that place is designated per child, for that time. Or parents would be telling me, I can see that their math book is on this side, and then their Quran book is on this side, and then their Islamic studies book is somewhere else. And, every time we're just looking for a place. So once you designate that, then what happens is you actually learn more. A very good advice was given by one of the principals at the Islamic schools. And he said, do not attempt and try to do everything for your kids. He said that actually kids do better when you leave them to be, and that they step up rather than continuously be dependent on you to do things for them. So what they do is they're saying is that, look, you let them know what the expectations are, and you allow them time to meet these expectations. And that is crucial. What we mean by this is trust your kids that they can actually do these things. And when we do that, what they're saying is that they're actually stepping up. And here's what he said as well. He said, what we have seen is that we have seen kids, for example, the example that he gave me, said that their Quran recitation actually improved when we were doing the distance learning. And I said, how is that? He said, because now they get the full attention of the one-on-one with the teacher, unlike a big classroom. So now what is happening is that this is going on. And what I love about this is that people who are constantly thinking positive, what they're saying is that we are looking at this and we are hoping that we are going fully as an online school, and we are giving it our best, meaning that we are not temporarily doing this until we go back. He said that we are assuming that this is going to be the mode of learning. I hope not. But they're saying that if this is the case, then he said what we're seeing here is that we are seeing that good is coming out of this. And the example that he gave is just kids' ability to recite and to read actually became better. Something else that they also said, excuse me, something else that they also said is this idea of, he said, as a result, understanding that, some of the parents may have lost their job, pay cuts and what have you. He said, we are able to do what we call COVID assistant tuition. And that is, we are going to cut our tuition whenever it is needed to accommodate these kids, as supposedly, some of the overhead is less at this point. But nevertheless, what I'm trying to say is that the idea of keeping a positive attitude is crucial, and especially for the parents. Look, in this process, there is just so much negativity that can come up. There is so many mistakes that we can point out to. If we are fixated on this, I think what happens is that we are going, and please forgive me for saying this, we are going to create a very toxic environment at home. So rather than having children learn in the safety of their own home, we are just going to have them deal with a lot of toxicity and chaos. And again, what I am hoping for is, and I'm sorry, wallahi, I don't really mean to repeat here, but it is important that we just cool it down with the criticism, and that we be as positive as possible. We be as flexible as possible, as understanding in creating that safe space for our children in order for them to learn. So having a structure and having a designated place for the kids to, say that this is what's going on is really, really crucial and important. Another point that the teachers have been telling me is the importance of staying in touch with the educational institute that your child goes to. Please keep up with the teacher. Please, when I say keep up with the teacher, not just to complain, please make sure that you actually express appreciation to the teachers. When I hear the stories of these teachers and what they have to do, the teacher who had a special need child and they want to make sure that that child still continues to learn, the teacher who has a child who just came to the US and English is not their first language, and they still have to make sure that they learn. The teacher who says that some of these kids in my classroom are online, but they really don't want to learn, but it's also my responsibility that they have to learn. He said, as a teacher, I am responsible for all of these people. So we want you to keep in touch with them. We want you to appreciate them. We want you to thank them. But we also want you to keep in touch so that you know what is going on with your child. And the more you reach out to the teacher, the more you become aware of where your child is. And I can tell you, as teachers, we really do pay attention, and we are able to give good feedback to the parents. And between the parents and the teachers, I think that a lot of good can actually come out to our children. So please do your best in keeping in touch with the children. Another vital, absolutely vital advice: break time. Break time is given to students so that they move around. Break time is not given so that the students can surf on the web or that they go somewhere else. What is important here is that they need to get up and they need to start walking, eat, drink, use the restroom, but they really need to get walking. And what happens is, you be sitting for 40 minutes, class is over, there's a break time of 10-15 minutes. During this time, what we want you to do is that change scenery, get out, walk around, get something to eat, get something to drink, speak to somebody. And then when you come back, you actually come back refreshed. You come back rejuvenated, which prepares you for the next 40 minutes. So break time is really important. And if the kids are out there listening to this, please remember, use the break time to actually move around. The break time is not for you to continue to sit, be on the phone or chat with somebody else, or be surfing the web. There will be time for this, but absolutely move around. That is very, very crucial. Moving around is not only during the break time, but a lot of these teachers are also saying that, look, we know it's COVID time. We want people to be careful, but we want you to get out. When I say we want you to get out, we say we want you to get out responsibly. Take a walk. Make sure that you ride your bike if that is a possibility for you. We want people to go out there, get fresh air, and get some exercise. Unfortunately, with the lockdown, some of us grew a little bit big, if you all know what I mean, because I will admit that I was one of the people who grew up a little bit. Actually, it was not a little bit, it was a bit, unfortunately. And what we want to do is that we want to make sure that we do get that movement, and we do walk around, especially for the elderly. Moving around is really important. Blood clots, people start developing back pain, and it can be crucial. So use the break time so that people can actually move around. And please forgive this if it sounds too basic, but these are tips that we remind each other of, so that we can actually achieve to the max. And that, like I said, the moving around is not just during break time, it is also after the school is over. Next one is going to be difficult. And I know that it is easier said than done. And that is the need to limit the need to limit screen time. What do we mean? You know, during this whole lockdown, most of us had very little choices. It's not like we can go out and run around. And, especially initially, people were scared and we just sat at home. And what happens when people sat at home? Well, people sat at home and we watched TV or on the net. Netflix did really well during this time. People were using their apps and they were on their video games, and because the parents said, "Look, there is very little that I was able to do." Now that, be it school time or no school time, but we really need to limit screen time. Depending on the age of the child, the recommendations is no more than 2 hours. And by the way, even though we're asking kids to be on the screen as they are learning, because unfortunately this is the only way that we can hold schools at this point, what is happening is that, excuse me, what's happening is that after the school, we want people to just take a break from the screen. So you really want to limit the screen time. And what I'm also hearing from teachers is that they're taking it easy on the kids, minimizing the amount of homework that they give, because they don't want the kids to be on the screens even after the school is over. Yes, they will have homework, they need to turn in some work, but we really need to limit the screen time. And that is going to be a challenge. So I wish all the parents, I wish all of us the best of luck in trying to achieve this, inshallah. But nevertheless, this is really, really important. One thing that I have told you before, but I really do feel that there is a strong need in saying this again, and that is the whole notion of, as we are trying to to help our children achieve, and as we are trying to help our children, as much as we can, as far as this whole pandemic is going on, and we say that cool it down with the criticism. Really, a cousin of this advice is, please connect before you correct. And what we mean by this is, because we're going to see so many of these boredom, stress, and just people even being depressed and anxious, and we want to point out what you need to do and not do, is that we want to connect before we correct. We want to make sure that we are emotionally connected prior to us just going with our criticism. So please make sure that you practice this idea of connect before you correct. It is also vital for the parents, especially for the sisters. Sisters, I am begging you, if you ask me what is the most important thing for the sisters out there to do, I'm saying everybody, but especially for sisters nowadays, is to please practice self-care. Self-care is any type of activity that we do, not accidentally happening to us, that we do in order to rejuvenate ourselves physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. These are intentional activities that you must do. So what happens is that sisters would say, I wake up in the morning, I make sure that they get up, I make sure that they're on time, I have breakfast for them. And as they are studying, I make sure that everybody is on the computer. I jump from this child to that child, making sure that they're paying attention, making sure that this is happening. In the meantime, I am taking care of what needs to be taken care of the house. And then they finish, I make sure that they eat, and then I make sure that they do their homework, and then I make sure, and then I usually ask and I say, sister, what do you do for self-care? Or for that, brother, what do you do for self-care? As a father, as a mother, what do you do for self-care? And found out that people who actually do things for self-care, who take care of themselves, they are actually more rejuvenated. And you see that in them being more patient, more flexible, more tolerant. because they actually have something out there for them to do. When I say out there, I don't mean that every self-care has to be out there, but there is something that they do in order to rejuvenate themselves. So the more you do of this as a parent, I think it just makes your job easier, that you can actually show that flexibility and show that gentleness and show that tolerance at home with your with your kids. Okay, one last one, inshallah, and then we will go to your questions. And please feel free, as I can see your comments as I am talking. If you have a tip that you want to share with us, please make sure that you send it. If you have a question, inshallah, we will address it as well. Okay, excuse me. Okay, and then another point, inshallah, and I'm closing down here with my tips, and this is really crucial, and that is for parents to connect together as well, to see what has been working for them. And by that we mean, look, nobody knows everything, so we're constantly wanting tips from each other. What has been working with your kids, and what's been working with my kids, and I tried this and they tried that, and there is this. Now we have a toolbox. My toolbox is very limited, but the more tools that people give me, the better options I have to deal with the different challenges and problems that may come my way. So the more we talk to each other, what happens is that eventually we are going to have more tools, and we are going to have better tools. So please make sure that we connect as parents to learn and to get tips from one another. And I think that will just absolutely be very crucial for us to do. Wallahi, from the very bottom of my heart, Sheikh Masmari, I think you're back. From the very bottom of my heart, I wish all of us the best out there. Be us the parents, be us the teachers, or be us the students. What we are seeing is unprecedented. We have not seen this before. And if we come from a place that everybody is just really trying their best, I think what happens is that it will make us just kinder souls, and it will make us gentler souls, and it will make, inshallah, this process an easier process for all of us to go through, inshallah, ya Rabbil Alameen. Appreciate your attention, appreciate your invitation to be part of this program, and hopefully, inshallah, some of the tips that were shared, would be of benefit to the people who are listening. I'm just going to entertain some of the questions that are coming our way here, and like we said, do write your questions. I am able to read them, inshallah. Person here is interested, saying, how have you personally benefited from this virus? I hope I did not. I don't think you're saying that I benefited from the virus. I think you are asking about the lockdown. How have I benefited from the lockdown and from the quarantine? Honestly speaking, it's an interesting question, but I would actually say that just the connection with the family. I think that's really important. And I'm not just talking about family here. My kids were out of town, but connected just with my siblings, connected with my mother, being able to talk to people every day. And in my case, I also got to know the community better. As you know, that most therapists, please do not undermine your mental health, because therapists are saying that they have seen an increase, a 65% average increase in their businesses, or the demand for counseling and therapy. Of the 65% increase, 40% of the people are saying that most of what is taking place is actually connected to the coronavirus. Either people are just becoming very anxious for their own well-being, or just the ramification of the lockdown, the feeling of depression and the difficulty in the relationships. So in my case, to be perfectly honest with you, I was not a believer in online counseling. I just never liked online counseling. People would just call me and they would say, do you do online counseling? And I would just absolutely refuse. And I'd say, I want you to meet somebody in your locality. And that comes from the belief that I think, that connection is really vital and important. You get to see people face to face. You are able to gauge their energy, facial expression. You are able to read their body language and how much energy they bring into the room with you. And I feel that this is really the ideal way of conducting a good counseling session. Well, then Corona came, and what has happened is, um, you see that there was just no way for people to come in. Everybody was under lockdown, and I started doing counseling online. And I can tell you, I really am a believer at this point, in a sense that this technology thing has really done wonders, alhamdulillah, that we are still able to connect and that we are still able to learn. And what I found is that many people that would not have considered counseling before are feeling safer, that they are online, and that they are able to open up, and I'm able to see them and they're able to see me. And you can still, gauge the level of energy, the tone of their voice, their facial expressions, their body languages. And I am just looking into this and I'm saying, subhanallah, what a blessing. And most people are saying, look, it would have taken me half an hour to drive over there, half an hour to drive back. I needed to get ready, and they just said, look, right now, all I need to do is just be in front of the screen from the comfort of my own home. And so to me, that was just the biggest benefit. And that is, online counseling really does work. Okay. Yes. Again, the question here is about an Islamic advice to maintain a good mental health, especially being away from people from an extended period of time. Last night I had a lecture on when bad theology leads to bad psychology. People thinking that if you are a good Muslim, you should not have any mental health related issues. And as you know, that there is this big, huge stigma regarding mental health in our community. And I tell you, one thing that we clinicians like to do, Sheikhna, good to see you again. The screen just lit up, alhamdulillah. One thing that we like to do as clinicians, especially in the Muslim community, we like to reduce and eliminate the stigma regarding mental health. We also like to educate the public about the importance of mental health. And number three, we like to give support to the people who are having mental health related issues and their loved ones. Number four, which is really important and vital, we like to support and promote policies and activities that would actually support people who are going through mental health issues and their loved ones. And one thing that is really important is by bringing validity to the topic, by discussing it in a public forum like we are doing right now. And I can tell you, what, with Sheikh Al-Masmari and his masjid and his community, people are being very open. People are not afraid of discussing these issues. And we want, we want communities to have that courage in saying, look, nobody is perfect. We all have issues. And being a good Muslim is a blessing, alhamdulillah. But because you are a good Muslim, you are not intrinsically protected against having mental health related issues. Good Muslims, practicing Muslims, men and women, believers, sweet people can be very tender in their heart, yet very troubled in their mind as well. It doesn't take away from their belief. It doesn't take away from their iman. And that is why we say, look, mental health is not just a requirement of the hour, but it is also part of the teachings in our deen. And that is, as'alullah al-afiyah. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be in the state of well-being. And that well-being includes an emotional well-being as well.
Allah jazakum al-khair, ya Shaykh. Thank you so much. Wallahi, it brings me so much joy just to know that you're still visiting the community, not only in spirit, but also virtual. Allah barik fi.
Love you back, Shaykh.
And subhanallah, even though it's Maghrib time, everyone, inshallah, we will be praying Maghrib now. But Shaykh, with everything that is said, it is still difficult to decide for many families. And you have kids of your own. It's not easy. Now you have youth, you have adults now that are socially awkward. No longer know how to communicate. When you see them, some people no longer feel comfortable to be out in public. But we have the virus that's still spreading like wildfire. We want our kids to be in a normal setting, a social setting. So again, they're not affected in a young age. We want them to be safe by having them stay at home. But of course, that messes up at least to other challenges, what would you do?
Yeah.
And what do you think based on everything? What would you advise us if you would just tell us, this is what I feel is best, so I can even learn as a parent what I need to be doing?
To be honest with you, I think that people have gone into two extremes: complete isolation on the one hand, or complete conspiracy theory on the other hand, where it's just completely lax. And what I suggest is selective interaction. Really find that balance. So what we've been doing is, we like to keep it safe. And I think that this is happening in almost every Islamic center. People are just using the parking lot at the Islamic center where families are just, is it happening in your center?
I know
as well?
we're open for salah, so they just come in.
Yeah.
But they use the parking lot. You're right.
People are just really using the parking lot, especially, if there is a big chunk of land, practicing social distance, and they're saying, look, this is really too boring. We cannot be under this lockdown. So you have got like 2 or 3 families, they would come together, practicing social distance, everybody wearing a mask, everybody bringing their own cups so that very little stuff is shared. And they just come in for a cup of coffee. Or you have parents, and I see them every day at the parking lot of the masjid. They come in, open the van, take the bikes outside, and you see the kids, circulating around the parking lot in the masjid, riding their bikes. Now, this may be possible for some people. Other people are just saying, look, every time we found a trail by our house and we've just taken a walk, and sometimes we do it with other family members. So I would say that selective interaction with a limited, responsible, like-minded people who are careful themselves, practicing social distance, I think might be one way to go at this point. And that is like I said, and you've got to be very, very strict about this thing. But Sheikhna, you are very right. I think kids, social interaction is part of that growth process.
Exactly.
And in order for that process to take place, you must be socially interacting. We've got people who were 3 years old and now they are about to become 4. They have not seen outside, and I really feel sad for these kids. People who are just looking forward to first grade, and there is no first grade that's going to be at school anymore. People who are looking forward to their first semester in college or in high school or elementary, whatever the case is, and that is not out there. So I think the challenge now is going to be creating healthy, viable alternatives, and finding that balance. So to me, I would just say,
what would you do?
Selective
If the adults, I always remember we used to say, inshallah, when everyone comes back to the masjid, we're going to revive. People are really, it's just people walk in and walk out. It's not what we expected people to be. So if adults are affected, what would you advise with school? School's in a few weeks. What do you think is the best route? What's your nasiha? Just a brotherly nasiha.
I don't think people should go back to school. I really don't. I mean, I hate saying this, but I think that at this point, distance online learning is really the responsible thing to do. I don't think it's safe enough. I like I said, I would love for my kids to learn. I would love for that, social interaction to be taking place. But honestly speaking, not in what's going on, especially so many irresponsible people out there. We're talking about over 5 million people have contracted the virus in the US alone, and the number is not going down. So I think it would be very irresponsible for us to do something like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Allah yajzik al khair, Sheikh.
Allah yahfazak.
We're always blessed to have you on behalf of everyone that is watching and bi'idhnillah will watch. Jazakumullah khair for all your efforts, for bringing this barakah to the community by guiding us, inshallah, through these difficult times. And we will always need your guidance, and we will always stay in touch. Keep us in your du'as. We love you for the sake of Allah, and inshallah, stay in touch, Shaykhana.
Jazakumullah khair, Shaykhana, and just to make sure that if anybody of our community, if them or their loved ones is not feeling well, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them a speedy recovery. If anybody is going through difficult times, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease their pain. If anybody, their loved ones passed away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless their souls, bless our kids, Ya Rabbal Alameen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us emotionally, spiritually, and psychologically and physically healthy, Ya Rabbal Alameen. May 1442 be a blessed year for all of us, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Shaykhna, always an honor and a privilege to be in your midst. Jazakumullah khair for the invitation, and hope to see you soon, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad.